probably against France here at Lansdowne Road, which could put them against, say, the All Blacks in a semi-final. That would be great for Irish rugby, and that would be just the platform, the springboard that they need to sort of launch into the new century.
Well, you were saying before the break, and before British Eurosport viewers joined us, of course, the Australians are in this group. And their turn of fortune over the last 3 or 4 months with that victory against the All Blacks, I mean, they really are a side to watch right the way through this competition, aren't they?
Without doubt. And I mean, that victory was without Eales and Larkham, two key players, as we see the United States team emerge. But I think what that victory has done is not just given Australia wonderful hope of winning the World Cup, hope that New Zealand won't be first and daylight second. I think it's given everyone hope, and especially the English, who've just had a convincing victory over Italy, and of course meet the All Blacks in 1 week's time at Twickenham.
So the emergence of the United States Eagles. Dan Lyle, the Bath number 8, very conscious of the fact that after that huge defeat by England, 106 points to 8 in August, he's got a major task on his hands here. Only 4 full-time professionals in the United States team. Tom Billups, the hooker, well, he plays for Pontypridd. Dave Hodges, Porth Llanelli. Lyle himself. And the Irish about to come out to a half-empty stadium, but to a huge roar, I'm sure. Being led by Dion O'Quinnigan. This giant number 8 forward, a former South African schools international, who found he couldn't get in the Western Province side in his native South Africa. But he had qualification to join Ireland, and now he's totally and utterly committed to seeing Ireland go all the way in this competition. But there's a long, long way to go. It's quite windy down there on the pitch. It's very breezy up here in the commentary box. We were just saying that by the time we get to about 8:30 or so, the temperature will have dropped considerably.
We've got blue skies, a wonderful carpet-like covering with the grass, but very, very windy, and that will make for some tough conditions. The wind is really swirling and quite strong as we stand by for national anthems.
Well, we said just before that David Humphreys, the fly half for Ireland, now he is a man, taking into account this wind and so on, and his kicking ability. He's a very good handler of the ball too, but he will want to control this game, won't he?
Without doubt. I think it's very important that Tom Tinney, the scrum half, and Humphreys, as you mentioned, do control a possession, that they use the ball well. They probably won't look to push it wide too early, but certainly as the match progresses, one would hope that they can play an expansive game, but they really have to mix it up in preparation for the big match against Australia in 1 week's time. We do anticipate Ireland to win. A lot of the punters are saying 20 to 30 points. They should get right on top, up front, especially in the scrum. And America, the United States, have conceded that they'll struggle at the scrum. I've heard from their assistant coach, Roger Gould, an Australian friend of mine, played many tests for Australia, that we might see some very interesting and exciting tactics from the United States in trying to counter the more professional Irish.
Well, for those of you who missed it, of course, a big victory for England over Italy at Twickenham today. And I suppose there are teams in the World Cup who can be considered as minnows when it comes to rugby union. Italy was certainly one of those in that category, although having said that, they're joining the 5 nations to make it a 6 nations championship next year. But this really is going to be a battle of David against Goliath here today, or it should be.
It should be indeed, and Ireland will be disappointed if they don't run away with this. That said, the United States in their qualifying games in the Pac Rim Championships had victories over Tonga and Fiji, and we saw what Fiji did to Namibia in Beziers. So they'll be spirited and they'll certainly tackle. They'll put their hearts into this, but Ireland should be able to control it and get away with the victory.
And Canada too against France for a little while today.
They certainly have a go, the Canadians.
So the national anthems, the prelude to what should be a very tough encounter indeed. Well, I certainly may have underestimated that 25,000 ticket figure, because the stadium really is filling up now. I know the gates were open quite early and tickets were still available.
We've got Island Call now, the famous Irish song. Resurrected, very passionate song this.
Well, Paul Wallace and the rest of the guys really pumped up. I think it's fair to say, Nick, the first 10 minutes we can expect Ireland to really take it to the United States.
Yeah, one would think so. They've got to stamp their real authority here. But the United States won't lie down. They're one of the more physical teams, like France found out against Canada earlier today.
Well, two former captains in that pack, Paddy Johns and Keith Wood.
Yeah, there's plenty of experience in that pack, especially up front. Some people regard that as the best front row in international rugby.
Well, as far as the United States are concerned, if you add all their caps together in comparison to the Irish, well, you have to say they're inexperienced. Brian Hightower on the wing there at number 11. He's one of the most experienced, a very tough customer indeed. And his opposite winger, Vi Anitoni, the United States record holder for scoring tries in international matches, 25 during his career. Ireland ready for the Rugby World Cup 1999. A very important match for them indeed. It's odds on that they're going to win this one, but in the final analysis, well, the rules in terms of who goes through to which stage of the competition, there are pages and pages in terms of the number of tries scored, the number of people sent off in an international match, etc., etc. So big points on the board is what is required here today.
Yeah, it certainly can be crucial. Those little elements, the rules that govern the World Cups. And for Coach Gatland and those 15 out there, World Cups are about building momentum. It starts for these guys tonight. They've been waiting for a long while. They'll be chafing at the bit.
Well, of course, we've mentioned Australia. The fourth team in Group E is Romania. They've had problems over the last few years. They used to be quite a force in world rugby, and they used to take on some of the best teams in the world and give them a game. But I think times have changed.
Yeah, it seems so. I think professional rugby has overtaken them. I can certainly remember Australia playing Romania in the 95 World Cup at Stellenbosch, where I was commentating that match. And I think at half-time, Australia led by a miserly 3-0. Joel Dumais, the French referee, had a lot of experience, gets a big applause as he comes onto the field, looks relaxed. He's going to have to be on his ball, I think, because I think we're in for a bit of a pressure cooker start.
I'm sure we are. Ed Morrison from England on the far side of the pitch, and Steve Lander, the other touch judge. And Joel Dumais taking charge here of his 12th international, his second World Cup competition. And it's David Humphreys who's going to kick off for the home side, Ireland. Well, already a bit of a break on here. Keith Wood it is, his first charge of the game. Head down, stays low. Good pick up there by Tom Tierney, the scrum half. Just outside the United States 22. Well, certainly no shortage of passion out there, is there?
Yeah, no, it reminded me of our start in 91. Ireland kicked off and it was on an all-in brawl early on. But Keith Wood, wonderful charge. Doesn't he love that, just to get involved, the Irish number 2?
He certainly does. He's one of the tallest hookers in the world, and he really can run like a sprinter. And Diarmuid Quinnigan right at the back at number 8 for Ireland, his opposite number Dan Lyle. There'll be a hard battle to be fought there, I'm sure, today.
Interesting to see the United States looking maybe to play it on the left there. Their number 8's offset, didn't get the ball in quick enough. I think the ruling will be they've been penalised 10. Still a short arm, they should go quickly, Ireland.
Well, this is Tierney, hands on to his lock forward. Paddy Johns, who drives on. Tierney's looking for a quick release here to Humphreys. They come on the wild side, and it's Keith Wood. He couldn't quite get it away to Matt Mostyn.
Pick it up.
Ireland spread wide, and the centre goes charging through. Kevin Maggs, 5 metres out from the United States line. Good pick up there by Trevor Brennan. Tierney once again to Humphreys, slips it back inside. That went to Matt Mostyn. A good start by Ireland. 3 metres out now. The prop forward goes charging on. The British Lion, Paul Wallace. And there's the first penalty of the game.
Just too much pressure, that phase after phase after phase. The very experienced Mark Williams conceding the penalty. But it was either going to be 5 or 7 points, or this 3. Tremendous build-up, great control from Ireland. That's what it's about in these windy conditions. Just take it up, advance the possession, and control it.
Well, judging from the direction of the flags, which you can't quite see on that picture, Ireland kicking against the wind in this half. And David Humphreys going through his usual routine. He actually wears a scrum cap these days, and he always takes that off before slotting a penalty. Ireland's first points in the World Cup.
Yeah, I was down on the pitch prior to the kickoff, and it really is a swirling breeze. It bounces off the stands. It does swirl very much, and it's going to be a difficult breeze to play in. Handling will be crucial, as will be the kicking and playing for field position. The United States have to get some possession. They really haven't touched the ball so far.
Well, this is via Anitoni, man I was telling you about right at the beginning of the game. He's the big try scorer, or the big hope for tries in the United States team. He's a real flyer on the wing. Sends it deep into the Irish 22. Good pick up there, though, by the scrum half Tierney. And blasted away by Humphreys. I was just about to say, Nick, this pitch is in absolutely magnificent condition, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I don't think the conditions have been too harsh. We've just come out of the autumn, of course, and a fairly pleasant summer, I understand. So groundkeepers have done an excellent job. It must be one of the best surfaces I've seen in World Rugby.
Well, Dave Hodges, the number 6, right at the back of the line, plays for Llanelli, United States back row player. And right at the back of the Irish line is Trevor Brennan.
Keith Wood has got hold of Paddy Johns. He'll throw him up, trying to get a hand on this United States ball.
Well, what options can the United States produce? Well picked up there. Oh, tremendous tackle by Trevor Brennan. A little bit of a mix-up there midfield, but Mark Williams hangs on to it. Good second phase. Kevin Dalzell gets it away, and the centre goes charging through. Tom Takau. Good defence at the moment by Ireland. There's no way through there. So United States penalised once again, and that just shows a little bit of panic amongst the Americans. They've just got to compose themselves a wee bit.
Yeah, there's no doubt that's a silly penalty. We know the rules, certainly they should know it. And Joel Dumais will be keen to set the tone for this game. He doesn't want play to be killed, and certainly that is one way to kill the ball. Going over the top, coming off your feet. And the United States just have to slow down a little bit in the passion, try and control that possession better.
Conor O'Shea, his 31st international here today, one of the heroes of the London Irish side. Big take there by O'Quinnigan. Humphreys onto his centre. Kevin Maggs, who's just stopped right in the centre of the field. And that's the young centre outside in Brian O'Driscoll. A lovely little chip forward. Hightower's chasing back. So, good pressure there. And this young 20-year-old O'Driscoll, he really is a promising player, isn't he?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Had a great tour to Australia, which was really his first time in an Irish jersey, and he's come on from there. He's a great hope for the Irish. Interesting to see if we see the replay. The Welsh are playing the short, flat alignment. We see another penalty to Ireland, and certainly the Irish were too there. Humphreys off that quick release from the line-out, up very flat, short release to Maggs to create the phase ball.
Well, the referee there saying that George Suker there, the prop for the United States, was pulling the scrum down to prevent the Irish making any further progress. So David Humphreys just popping it into the corner. This is going to be interesting. They've got a real chance here.
Well, this is almost a certain try once you get into this situation against, as we said, one of the minnows of rugby. Two-handed possession here. They really should be able to maul the ball over the line.
So the former captain, Keith Wood, maybe aiming for Dion O'Quinnigan at the back. No, this time it goes to Paddy Johns. He made a bit of a hash of it there, but O'Quinnigan picks it up. Supporting there is the number 7, the flanker Andy Ward, just standing to the left-hand side. Humphreys misses out one centre. Oh, magnificent. Justin Bishop scores Ireland's first try in the World Cup.
Very good play. He came from an unsighted position, did Justin Bishop. David Humphreys, Ireland's number 10, held the ball up beautifully. It was actually a decoy for a cutout pass, and he just put it into space, popped the ball up, and it was Bishop coming from around the corner, out of the sight of the American defenders, and the gap just opened. Here we see it. United States defenders will be watching out wide. The dummy pass was actually in behind, and it just opened up. There was no drift defence.
And Humphreys has just added the conversion too. So, just 7.5 minutes into this game. Ireland leading the United States 10 points to 0. Well, a cracking start by Ireland, just what they needed.
And they've hardly made a mistake to date.
Anatoni, the winger, hoping to get a slightly better kick than he did last time. That's higher, but it's deep into the 22 to give the Irish plenty of time. And here goes Keith Wood. I saw a headline in the paper to say that if Wood goes well, the Irish go well too. He really is a talisman of the team. And that's a lovely kick, but just taken well there by Kurt Schumann. Hammered in the tackle by Mostyn and O'Driscoll. And a good pick up there by Peter Clarsey. The hooker for the United States, Tom Billups, goes down to rescue the United States. That was looking a little bit dangerous there. And away goes the scrum cap. Billups says, I can do without that now.
Just see the pressure this Irish pack put on the Americans. The Americans really have to try to secure a stable, quality ball.
Well, that was the grisly face we saw on the side of the scrum there of Trevor Brennan. Brennan from St Mary's College, his second season of international rugby. Oh, that was nearly on there for Via Anatoni for the United States, but it's a turnover now. Conor O'Shea. Oh, and it's a big breakaway by Tom Tierney, by Kevin Dalzell rather. He's going to score. Well, against the turn of play, but we saw the same thing in the England-Italy match this afternoon. Just a little bit of relaxation. And, well, I'm not going to say the Americans are back in it.
Yeah, no, very interesting. I wouldn't say they're back in it, but that'll certainly get their spirits up. There's no doubt about that. The try came from initially a mistake by the United States. They released the possession. They knocked on. But the referee from this situation, as Dion O'Quinnigan picked the ball up, had played the advantage for Ireland. It was play on. And when the Irish then made the mistake, they could no longer bring the ball back for the initial knock on from the United States.
So Kevin Dalzell, his 6th try in international rugby. And that does bring the Irish back into the game. There's no doubt about that. And a big kick to be taken wide on the far side of the pitch from us. Mark Williams.
Nearly 40 years of age. I understand he might only play for 30 or 40 minutes today, but one of the most experienced for the United States.
Well, if we can slot this over, it would put a spring in his step, that's for sure. Oh, it was close. So just over 10.5 minutes gone in the first half in Ireland's opening encounter in the World Cup, leading the United States 10 points to 5.
I think O'Quinnigan, the captain for Ireland, may have had a quiet word or maybe even a loud word to his team. Let's not push it too wide. Let's stamp our authority first, through the middle, take it up through midfield, and then we can look to play an expansive game when we're well on top.
David Humphries restarting, and that's going deep too. And Tony picks it up. Then the flanker, Richard Tarditz, caught midfield, just inside the United States 22. And that's a big kick coming there. That gets the United States out of danger just a little bit. Steve Landers from England, the touch judge on this side. This guy's not the oldest man in the World Cup. I understand years old. I mean, he must get a big kick out of that.
Absolutely. I think Humphries' declared age is 38, but as my mate Roger Gould, who's with the United States squad, said, he could well be a bit older.
So here we go. Ireland aiming for O'Quinnigan at the back, towers above everybody else. The big drive coming on from Paul Wallace and the rest now. And this is better. Wallace has got the ball in his hands. Right next to him is Keith Wood, his hooker. Now a big charge from Trevor Brennan, the back row forward. Tries to release it, but there's a turnover here. It was picked off there by Ray Lehner of the United States. And the United States are gaining in confidence here. That was Tom Takau who's trying to break through.
Yeah, great breakout. Very exciting from the States. And the game came from an elementary error from the Irish team. But Takau, we'll see here, taking it forward. The Americans able to pilfer. But if Takau had have held that ball 2 hands instead of careering away with one hand and making the error, well, it could have been crucial time for the Irish.
Well, of course, if they scored another try, they'd be on level terms with Ireland. And certainly the Irish won't want that. Warren Gatland, their coach, will not want that at this stage in the competition. They will want to play very, very good rugby indeed. And as you were saying, Nick, just before, I'm amazed they're not just keeping it tighter, because they have got a very experienced set of forwards.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. We've seen that from every time they've locked it up at the back of their maul, they've been able at will to drive the Irish back. I would have thought for the first quarter of this match that would be the tactic.
Conor O'Shea made his debut for Ireland back in 1993. Very powerful runner. He's a big man at 6'2" and 15 stone. Great line out there, though. On to Dean O'Quinnigan, the number 8 forward, who's standing in the middle of the field. Humphries, a little chip through, and that's being chased by the American fullback, Kurt Schumann. But takes them to within 10 metres of the United States line. The United States to put in. Good play, Humphries.
Yeah, they're not bad tactics. O'Quinnigan there taking the first ball from the quick release at the line-out. The quick ruck ball. Humphries realising there wasn't an overlap, putting it into the corner. And you'll see Ireland here. They'll certainly, as we see an injured United States player, they will look to compete for this ball. Any hand on it will be attacking ball for the Irish.
Well, anything that you've seen so far to worry the Australians?
Well, not yet, but we're early days yet. I mean, I suppose what would worry the Australians is just being at Lansdowne Road. From these situations, I think Ireland should be looking to come back the short side, just to be able to control the ball. They've taken the ball off the line-out, the quick release from the line-out into midfield. I'd be looking to punch back the short side there if I was Ireland.
Well, there's still a hold-up for an injury to one of the American players. And, I was talking to Gwyn Jones yesterday. He was commentating with us on Eurosport at the opening match in the Millennium Stadium, and he said that it was unfair to give Wales this favourite tag, because it's a huge amount of pressure to carry, not only just as the host nation, but as somebody that their nation desperately wants to do well. And I guess the Irish are probably feeling that same sort of pressure at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's difficult at home. I mean, yes, a crowd can lift you, but there's great expectation too for these teams. And I'd agree with that for the Welsh. They have got tremendous pressure on them.
So Keith Wood, the number 2, just coming off the back of that line out. Oh, The Americans all over the place there, but they need to get good options here, and that was well taken by Alec Parker, the number 5 for the United States. Trying to run it out of defence. Well, this is brave tactics by the United States. They've got some powerful runners midfield, but there's a turnover here, and this is going to be an easy score for Brian O'Driscoll. Oh yes, O'Driscoll, his debut try for Ireland.
Well, you said it, Paul. Brave tactics from the United States, trying to run it out of their own quarter. They certainly had the option to clear it through Williams, but they elected through Takau to try and take on the Irish. There we see Takau. If you're going to do that, the crucial thing is to hang on to the possession. Quick loss, and there was no way America could cover it up. O'Driscoll, the young flyer, he'll be delighted. It should give him plenty of confidence.
Oof. I thought he was going to go over the back line there, but knew what he was doing. A very cool customer indeed. So what a moment for the youngster. And that puts Ireland 15 points to 5 in the lead. 16 minutes gone in the first half. David Humphries with a penalty and a conversion already. And that's another one. Well, after a bit of a scare by the United States and one or two simple mistakes, Ireland now in control. Ireland leading the United States 17 points to 5. Approaching the midway point of this first half, and we're just having a look at a replay of Brian O'Driscoll's debut try for Ireland, and this guy surely has a fantastic future ahead of him.
One would think, and it's certainly what Ireland need. They need some real attacking players in the back line.
Ireland on the attack again. Marvellous running by the forwards. Paddy Johns with the ball in his hands. An awesome sight over the United States into their territory. Humphries, the try scorer, chips it on for his winger. Well, that was a magnificent piece of play by the forwards. Paddy Johns was involved, Keith Wood was involved, and so was Dion Quinnigan, the captain.
And O'Driscoll a little upset with himself. He knew he had Conor O'Shea rearing up outside him. The kick was not the option. They had the overlap, but this is right. Look at Woods taking it forward. The mobility of this forward pack, the Irish forward pack, is tremendous. Running at speed, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. And eventually controlled the possession, and it went wide. O'Driscoll, we see, had O'Shea on his shoulder. Should have given that short ball there. Poor execution on the kick.
One of the most fearsome sights in rugby, the Irish forwards rampaging like that. Well,
yeah, and it all started with Wood.
Yes, it did. You were saying before that you suspect the United States may have a few options, and the line-out is one of the places they've got to make those options work. Tom Billups, Pontypridd hooker, throws in, and that was good play. Oh, just a bit of a mix-up there by the flank forward, Richard Tarditz.
Yeah, unfortunate for Tarditz. They're really at speed, right on the gain line. He would have easily crossed the advantage line, set up a good attacking situation for his team. A little too anxious, though.
So Tom Tierney.
Now you see here on the scrum, the Americans have actually packed in their scrum half, and I think Williams, their number 10, into the scrum. You've got two flankers defending, one in the traditional number 10 position, the other flanker at scrum half.
There's Dan Lyle, who's standing there as the alternate scrum half, but Humphries comes away with it. Quinnigan, the number 8, almost into the hands there of Matt Mostyn. But it's rescued by the United States. Luke Gross, this amazingly tall guy, it's 6'9". Well, the referee apologizing, but a penalty to the United States. And a bit of a respite here as well for Mark Williams. They can settle themselves now, reorganize.
Interesting tactic, that, putting your 9 and 10 into your scrum. Ireland should punish it. They should drive them forward and really punish that situation. But what I think America are trying to do is, one, wheel the scrum, take away one option from the Irish, and two, have some strong defenders close in.
Well, we've already seen the Americans take on Ireland, especially in the loose, with their two very powerful centres, John Grobler and Tom Takau. Paddy Johns trying to go for that ball, but well taken at the back of the line there by Dan Lyle. And support coming in from Luke Gross. Oh, almost went into the hands there of Brian Hightower. Hightower, real 7 specialist.
You know, lack of sophistication there from the Americans in the back line, playing their moves well behind the gain line. All Ireland did was watch what they were doing, pick off the men, and eventually it came to a knock on from the United States. Nice big left blind side if the Irish wish to use it.
So Peter Close here prop forward on this side, then Keith Wood, then Paul Wallace. Ireland come away. Oh, tremendous running by Kevin Maggs, looking for Matt Mostyn. But a good tackle coming in there from Via Anitoni to show that not only is he a good try scorer, he can defend as well.
Yeah, that was all too obvious. Great short side there for Ireland. Maggs stood on the left, he wasn't marked up. The scrum wheeled left, it all opened up. Really, the Irish should have been able to keep that possession in. Created a phase ball.
Well, referee Joel Dumais from France making sure that there's a big gap down the centre of that line. Now, what are the United States going to do here? Billups to throw. Too slow the throw in.
Yeah, it's a bit tough.
It is.
Oh, well, America will have to think about that.
Oh, Peter Clossie absolutely going like a battering ram at the United States defence. Keith Wood dummying there. Bit of a telegraph pass to Andy Ward in the middle of the field. But here comes the scrum half once again. Tom Tierney, Humphreys chipping it through. Big chase on now for Justin Bishop. And just running out of pace.
Yeah, Humphreys a little concerned. He wasn't too happy about that option. Probably looking to keep it in and just get it into the corner. But they did run out of options. It was all over the shop. Humphreys electing just to put it down. And now they'll try and compete with this American ball. The States under pressure, having just been penalised at the line-out. They'll have to get this one in quicker.
Well, that was a picture of David Humphreys that we saw with the scrum cap, playing at number 10 at fly half. Had a good game so far. Billups for the United States. Oh, big jump there by Paddy Johns. And that gave the United States problems. Now the drive comes from Trevor Brennan. Tierney just waiting. Plays it short. Oh, back inside to Andy Ward. The referee allows play on. I thought there might have been a knock on there, but here comes Humphreys once again. And Kevin Maggs was really clattered, and the United States can come away now. This is good running, good attacking. Tom Takau. He was looking round for support, and it didn't come quickly. Kurt Schumann, the fullback, has the ball at the moment. Kevin Dalzell lets it free to his fly half, Mark Williams.
They should come the short side. They can go a quick tap. Plenty of jerseys on the right. But Dan Lyle, a little bit of a stink develops. Dan Lyle indicating he might want to go for 3 points.
Well, I think Joel Dumais is going to have a few words here. Up until now, the game's been played in good spirit. It's obviously very, very tough indeed. At the opening ceremony yesterday, somebody mentioned on the PA system about friendly games in rugby union.
It was actually the Prince of Wales reading his mother's note.
I didn't like to say that, but and there's a huge chuckle went round the stadium when he said it too.
Yeah, I don't think Her Majesty is quite familiar with the game as most of the fans.
Tom Takau there it was, who tried to find his centre, John Grobler. Couldn't quite get a hand to it. Well, the referee calling Ray Lehner, prop from the United States, and Jeremy Davidson, the British Lions second row forward. And things just settling down a wee bit here. So Monsieur Dumais not having any nonsense. Dan Lyle will tell his forwards, just calm down. The gap at the moment, 12 points. 25 minutes gone in the first half. And Ireland leading 17 points to 5. I think that'll just go down in the books as a bit of rough and tumble, won't it?
Yeah, it wasn't too serious, was it? No harm done, no damage done. A bit of argy-bargy.
I'm not sure Warren Gatland, though, will be terribly impressed with the way that this game is developing from the Irish point of view. It is a little bit scrappy.
Yeah, they would have wanted more control. They've had more turnovers than they'd like to count at this stage of the game. But it really is about authority and control. and building that momentum, because they'll be looking forward to the big match on the 10th of October against the Wallabies.
I don't know whether you noticed that caption referring to Mark Williams, that the club he belongs to is called the Gentlemen of Aspen, and that sort of really sums up rugby union in the United States. I'm not being unkind, but you know, it's still a developing game, isn't it?
It is a real gentleman's club game, isn't it? And I'm sure they have one or two parties down there at Aspen, both in winter and summer.
So Kevin Dalzell it is who's going to take this penalty just inside the Irish 10-metre line. Dalzell, who's only scored 11 penalties for his country in his 13 internationals. Good kick. And it's over. So Dalzell, the try scorer, adds a penalty. Ireland leading 17 points to 8. "26 minutes gone in this first half. Erratic play from the Irish, sometimes brilliant, sometimes making very simple mistakes. David Humphries now to restart. Just under 15 minutes to go in this first half. Well taken by Bath's Dan Lyle for the USA. Under pressure from the Irish forwards. And this scrum half, Kevin Dalzell is improving with confidence all the time. He scored a try, he just kicked the last penalty. And I really think he fancies his chances now.
Yeah, he's not a bad player, Dalzell, but that was an option he may have elected, in retrospect, not to have taken. Running into a couple of the big Irish forwards, unable to get the ball to the ground, held up. Scrum feed goes to Ireland.
So here we go. The Irish on the rampage now. Quinnigan, but he was brought down just inside the 22. Tom Tierney. Oh, that was a very powerful run indeed from Ireland. And a little bit of scrappy play now. Wasted chance there for the Irish. They had good possession but lost it. Keith Wood, the British Lions hooker, is buried underneath there somewhere. Mark Williams clears his lines for the United States. I think he's enjoying himself out there.
Yeah, indeed he is. Great conditions for rugby. But again, we saw O'Shea, well, injecting himself, and certainly one of the best in rugby from fullback to do that. But again, the crucial turnover. They've just got to control that possession. The tries will come. Great opportunity here.
Oh, massive jump there by Paddy Johns.
They could maul this all the way.
We haven't seen too much of that in this first half. We're staying on their feet and driving and rolling. The Irish are doing it now. This is a magnificent drive by the Irish. Just about 15 metres out from the United States line now. So, a penalty to Ireland. Now, what's on here? Humphries has got the ball in his hands. United States just asking for clarification. But Joel Dumais, the referee, in no doubt whatsoever.
Quinnigan should be going for touch here, trying to play for the line out. It is kickable, of course, a difficult one with the wind conditions. But they should be putting the pressure on America, maintaining possession, working off the line out. Yes, they do.
And of course, these penalties, every time the United States concede a penalty, it does spell danger. We saw yesterday, Quesada, the Argentinian fly half, he kicked 6 penalties for his side.
In the game, there's no doubt about that.
They never scored a try the whole time, but penalties, 3 points for each one if they're successful, and it can mean a try in this instance as well, coming from the line out. A tremendous drive by the Irish forwards, and the try is given. So 2 tries already in this game for the three quarters, for the sprinters. This time it's the forwards who get it, and believe it or not, it's Keith Wood. Fantastic.
Certainly got a good strike rate for a hooker, this fella. He gets on the end of backline movements. He gets in the middle of mauls. He can sniff a try from a mile away. This was technique and brute strength. And there's Wood. You can just see him joining the pack now. Saw the ball, got his mitts on it. The strength of Ireland got them over. And the bald man there, right in the middle of your screen, came up with it.
His 6th try for his country. And that means a bigger gap now. We're just saying that a penalty's worth 3 points, but coming from that situation where they decided to go for the set piece. Well, a very important score for Ireland. It takes the pressure off just a little bit. They're leading the United States by 22 points to 8. And that just, yes, they've given it. I was going to say, I thought it was shading that right-hand post.
I think we from the commentary box have a very good look at that line. And I think the people around us, the fans, even the Irish, were very surprised to see the flags go up. Shouldn't have any outcome on the final result, but I could have sworn that was a couple of metres to the right.
Me too. So on the stroke of 30 minutes in the first half, Ireland have extended their lead to 16 points over the United States. And the try scorer drives on once again. He's been all over the park during this first half. A little kick forward by Tom Tierney. It's hovering, and Ireland chase through for it. Joel Dumais says play on.
They can go wide here.
Humphries decides to send it deep into the United States territory. It's in the 22, and there's a chase on here. Justin Bishop just keeps it inside. He could score from here, but Ed Morrison has put his flag up.
Well, that was some lax play. I was hoping the Irish may have come wide. They certainly had the numbers and they had the space out the left. But it was David Humphries who decided to go long. There was plenty of space down the right flank. And what a great chase from Bishop.
Well, Humphries certainly saw a gap there. That was brilliant.
As they say, kick to the Seagulls. Where the Seagulls are, there aren't any players.
Humphries, of course, tremendous success with Ulster in Europe this year, and 51 points he scored in the Five Nations Championship during this season. Oh, that's gone loose at the back. Quinnigan tries to clear it up, but a bit of offside there coming by the United States, I think. Yeah,
no doubt. They're really starting to struggle at line-out. Ireland competing very well. John's at the front, just being hoisted up. The United States struggling to get two-handed ball on it.
Well, they're going to do exactly the same on the far side as they did over on this side where we're sitting a few moments ago.
Plenty of options. The forwards in a huddle there. They should, or it's almost a definite try if they pull it down and maul it over. But will they push it wide? Humphries there calling the moves. They might go for a quick shift and give the backs a go.
Well, who's shouting there at his number 12, Kevin Maggs. Tremendous take there once again by the Irish, and once again the forwards rolling. If they can stay on their feet, they could score once again. Well, getting in a bit of a mess there, and Trevor Brennan there, just having a little bit of a dig.
Tempers flaring. Certainly Brennan saw something that displeased him. Smiles all round.
Dan Lyle certainly smiling about it, the number 8 for the United States there.
Well, he's a seasoned campaigner, being one of their professional players. He's going to have to be seasoned, as is their front and second rows, if they're going to withstand this pressure coming through from the Irish scrum.
And on this side for Ireland, Andy Ward wearing that very fetching, I think it's imitation snakeskin. It's very fashionable these days. There's a lot of players wearing it in the World Cup, but Dalzell, the scrum half, trying to run out of defence.
I think that's partly, Paul, so that they're not missed by the selectors.
So Richard Tardit's there, handed it on to Dan Lyle. And the Americans are attacking, given every opportunity now. Oh, offside there. Interference when Kevin Dalzell had the ball in his hands. So America, the United States have a penalty just outside their own 22, and I think they'll want to try and get out of their own half on this occasion. 33 minutes gone.
A very spirited play by the Americans with ball in hand. Just got to try and absorb some more of the Irish into the tackle situation, though. Irish really staying out of the ruck and maul, spreading plays in defence either side of the breakdown situation. They've got to try and draw a few more of those Irish forwards into that breakdown situation.
And just a reminder, the second game of this pool, Pool E, Australia versus Romania, takes place tomorrow, and of course you can watch that on Eurosport. So once again, Tom Billups throwing in for the USA. Changes again in the line. Oh, they send it to the back. Dan Lyle it was who was supposed to get it, but Quinnigan charging on. He's made 5 or 6 metres for Ireland. It's whipped out there to Humphries. A big kick into the corner once again. Well, the USA got it wrong on that occasion, didn't they?
Yeah, indeed, I don't know what happened, whether they sort of tripped over each other at the back, but there certainly wasn't a jump. And that's about the second or third successive line-out that they've conceded to the Irish. They have to get that area of their set plays right.
McQuinnigan, the former South African player, very, very talented all-rounder. And what an addition he's been to this Irish side.
Yeah, great charge. You need those back rowers and indeed any forwards who can just take the ball up at speed. Very impressed by the mobility of this Irish pack, as no doubt the Australians will be watching it on TV.
Well, the sort of fitness campaign they've been involved in over the last year, Warren Gatland, the coach, reckons every one of the players in the forwards has taken about 2 inches off his waist, such as the training and the professionalism of this squad. But it's the United States who come away with it there. Humphreys trying to make the tackle, and he was really clattered. Dalzell hands it on. Dalzell is looking for it once more. Williams back inside. The Irish defence holding fast at the moment. A big kick downfield. Conor O'Shea coming back for it. Ooh, it's very close. He's going to try and keep it in, though. Now then, he's going to run. Head down. Good tackle coming in there from Anatoni. Just outside the Irish 22.
Yeah, no, they haven't stayed on their feet. I think you'll find that over the top. Disappointing, Eps. Diving over the top of that possession. Not necessary.
Well, Ray Lehner, mixed fortunes during this first half. He's got himself into a bit of trouble with the referee on a couple of occasions. Just coming up now to 3 minutes to the whistle for half-time, plus injury time. I think Joel Dumais there said there was about 4.5 minutes to go. We've got the benefit in the commentary box of actually being able to hear the referee.
4:20, he's just told his touch judge. 4:20 to go. Ireland will probably look for a quick shift here, take it up in midfield. Got to organise themselves in attack.
Paddy Johns in the black scrum cap. In fact, sorry, it's Jeremy Davidson, of course. Davidson, though, leaving it to Peter Clarsey.
Ball just drifting away, probably on the wind there. United States scrum for the ball not going in straight. Nice little short side.
I suppose that statistic on the screen reflects the score here in this first half, where Ireland, playing their first pool game in the World Cup, are leading the USA 24 points to 8. Dan Lyle coming away from it. He enjoyed that run. He made 10 metres. And Luke Gross goes driving in there, this 6'9" American forward.
Clear penalty there. Andy Ward over the top, hands on it. But I must say, Lyle did tremendously well from the back of that scrum. The United States scrum was under extreme pressure. Going backwards, Lyle picked it up, was able to beat 2 or 3 tackles, get them into a situation where just prior to half-time, with what must be only a couple of minutes to go, they have a final bite at the cherry.
So just inside now, Ireland's 22. Not many times this half the Americans have been there. Oh, tap back there. Good pick up there by the scrum half, Tom Tierney. Keith Wood burying in there, looking for the ball, being supported now by Paddy Johns. Humphreys out of defence. That's a massive kick down towards the halfway line. And Steve Lander, English touch judge, is putting his flag up on round about the 10-metre line. But Humphrey, such an accomplished kicker. So a minute of normal time to go.
Paddy Johns there at 2 for Ireland has really competed well, getting his hand on that yesterday. Big comparison to the Welsh performance yesterday. Craig Quinnell didn't jump at all on the Argentinian throw-ins.
Well, Dan Lyle almost took that ball with one hand. Mark Williams looking for options in the centre of the field. And certainly the Americans are not out of it. A drive on there by the giant Alec Parker as well. But really, that attack, it just went straight across the field, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. And they're playing the moves well behind the gain line. Ireland are just picking them up, picking them off. You've got to play it right up on top of your opposition, up around the advantage line. So
Tom Billups, the American hooker, once again Looking for Lyle, but it's taken brilliantly in the centre of the line out by Ireland. Now what can Tom Tierney do from here? He pops one over the top, looking for Justin Bishop. Bishop goes charging up, tries to get a hand to it, but it comes down on the side of the United States. The back row forward, Richard Tardit's buried in there to get it back to his scrum half. Almost a break on there from Tom Takau in midfield. And the referee says play on. Well, calling the United States the Whites, although their strip is a mixture, of course, rather predictable, of red, white and blue. So scrum down. This could be the last scrummage of this first half.
Great opportunity on the right. O'Shea looking to inject himself.
He certainly is, and he's just outside O'Driscoll. O'Driscoll trying to make the break himself, supported now by the forwards. Well, a bit of holding there by the Irish, so penalised. Disappointing there, because if it would have been, what, third phase possession had come, they had a good chance.
I don't know if Dumais lost his watch, but this certainly seems like a long 4.5 minutes.
Well, my watch is now showing just on 41.25 minutes, so I think it's only just a few seconds, but we've just got to hold up now for an injury.
Well, I think,
and believe it or not,
is going for goal.
He's going for goal inside his own half. We saw this yesterday with Quesada of Argentina. Made a bit of a hash of it, but Mark Williams, almost 40 years old, he's had to make a name for himself here.
Well, there's plenty of wind down there. I'd assume it's favouring him. It must be behind him. He's electing for goal, but it's right on half-time.
It is,
so
Nick.
It could be a crucial 3 for the States.
The flags right behind the goals he's aiming for are almost horizontal, so there must be a pretty strong wind there.
Well, he's taking plenty of run up too.
Well, he's got the height, but he hasn't got the legs. So away come Ireland. Conor O'Shea, left-footed. And that's safe. And there it is. Half-time. A bit of a ragged start by Ireland, but during the course of the first half, 3 tries for them. And they lead the United States at the moment by 24 points to 8. I'm sure there's a lot more to come in the second half, and I'm sure Warren Gatlin will be having a few stern words.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. They'll be looking for a more polished and organised performance, and certainly trying to control a possession better.
So there we have it. Ireland's opening salvo against the United States. 24 points to 8. They lead. Well, Nick Farr-Jones, the former Australian World Cup winning captain, is here with me at Lansdowne Road here this evening. And conditions pretty good for attacking rugby, aren't they? It's a bit chilly, it's quite windy, but in this half Ireland will have the wind in their favour, and we should see some more big points coming on the board.
Yeah, I would say that they can really want to run away with this game. These are the best conditions that you can get at Lansdowne Road. I've been here on quite a few occasions. You know, in October, November, especially December, January, it gets pretty awful, but these are good conditions apart from the strong breeze. But as you said, the breeze should be favouring the Irish in this second half. They should be able to, through David Humphries, dominate field position, and one would assume that Gatlin would have laid down the law. He would be expecting plenty of tries from the Irish outfit this half. For the United States, well, there would have been a lot said about how to get more possession. That's the crucial thing for them, how to get some possession, and especially at the line-out where they lost about 5 of their last 6 throw-ins. So that'll be an area I would expect them maybe to look to shorten that line-out.
Well, that's a bit of a shock. Jeremy Davidson, the British Lion, he's been substituted. Malcolm O'Kelly from St Mary's College, the number 20 for Ireland, is on. And Warren Gatlin will not be a happy man if Jeremy Davidson has been injured during that first half.
That's exactly right. Davidson was going particularly well with Paddy Johns. They were competing exceptionally well on the United States throw-in. All the forwards for Ireland were going well in intervals, and as you see the Irish just focusing, firing up. The United States, well, they would have got plenty of instructions about how to improvise, how to get some of that possession, and then how to use it.
Well, just while we're watching the United States come out, Nick, just remind us back to 1991, the quarter-final, where the Irish took you. You went on to win the World Cup, but they nearly snatched victory. There was only 1 point in it, wasn't there?
Without doubt. There was 4 minutes to go and we were trailing. I was injured after 20 minutes, and so I was observing it from somewhere similar to where we're watching the match now. I couldn't do anything about it. It was one of the most emotional times, but really 4 minutes separated us from being on a plane home the following day to basically going back 2 weeks later to ticket tape parades in Sydney. So made a huge difference for us.
So the United States about to restart this second half, and the veteran Mark Williams, he's still there. He had a pot-shotted goal from inside his own half just before the half-time whistle went, but really the first half was a story about 3 tries from Ireland. After some scrappy play, they put together 1 or 2 brilliant attacks, and they resulted in 3 brilliant scores. So the United States restart. Oh, tremendous pickup straight away by Trevor Brennan. And Ireland attacking straight away. Humphreys into touch, trying to push his team upfield. A tremendous roar from the crowd as well. As soon as Trevor Brennan picked that ball up, the attack was on.
Well, he certainly sliced straight through the United States defence, and one would expect that could be the outcome of much of this next 40 minutes of play. They've got to try and stay on their tackles, the States, otherwise it could be a big runaway victory for the Emeralds.
So Dan Lyle right at the back, and the big man Luke Gross. But it comes to the front. The drive is on now from the USA. If they can stay on their feet, they can certainly gain some ground, but it's broken down now. Away they go. Just a little handoff there from Mark Williams to Richard Tarditz, the loose throw forward. But Ireland come away. Paddy Johns, and Humphreys kicks the ball downfield. It's Brian Hightower, the winger, chasing back for it. He's the only man back for that ball and screws the ball away. That was a good clearance by Brian Hightower.
As we expected, Humphreys just playing for that field position. Wynn favouring his kicks down into that right corner. Wood has the throw in.
Hightower there, playing his 15th test for the United States. He's played in many sevens tournaments for the USA. He's a real flyer, but he hasn't seen much of the ball here today. Kevin Maggs trying to make the breakthrough. Humphreys a little chip through, and O'Driscoll is chasing it. There's a real chase on here. Oh, O'Driscoll there, and via Anitoni. Anitoni renowned for scoring tries for the American Eagles, but on this pitch here this evening, all he's been able to do really is defend, and O'Driscoll is proving himself to be a real match winner here.
The Irish players firing the crowd up, getting them behind them. The proven tactics from that shifted ball at the back of the line out. Went through Humphreys to Maggs and took it straight forward.
Well, Dan Lyle tried to get a hand to it. The crowd thought that was a try from the scrum half. Tom Tierney was through there so fast. There was a tiny little gap, the ball was loose, and he went for it. So drama in the first few moments of this second half.
Big pressure on this scrum.
A big push coming from the Irish, all sorts of problems for the United States. And a penalty. I think the scrum collapsed there. 1 or 2 of the American players were coming and peeling off the scrum. Oh well.
I wouldn't be surprised to see them pack a scrum. Yes, Wood in position for a scrum. They know that the pushover's ready. Tom Tierney, the scrum half, down and injured. He was all over the top of the United States players trying to get a hand on that ball as the United States scrum buckled. You watch Tierney, the Irishman, following it through. He went so close.
Oh, that was close, wasn't it? Just cleared up by Dan Lyle.
Well, it certainly wasn't close. The scrum falling all over him. It got him right in the middle. 3 or 4 bodies and the smallest man on the pitch.
And Tierney only playing in his 4th test for Ireland, but you'd think he'd held that position for quite a few years. He's playing with a lot of maturity here this evening.
They really only have to get a holding scrum initially, and they should be able to put the second shove on.
The drive comes straight away. The captain of Quinnigan trying to control it at the back. Dalzell, the scrum half, trying to come round, as is Dave Hodges.
Penalty try.
It's a penalty try. That was almost inevitable, wasn't it?
No, indeed. I thought the Irish rushed it a little bit. All they had to do was control it, but led by Wood right in the middle, they went after the United States. They put the drive on aggressively, and eventually the States infringed. And referee Joel Dumais thought that was a foregone conclusion of a try if the infringement didn't occur. Easy 7 points.
And David Humphries, success with the boot once again. He's converted every one of Ireland's tries and also popped over the first score of the match here tonight, and that was a penalty for 3 points. So Ireland leading in the early stages of this second half over the USA, 31 points to 8. And once again we can have a look at that try. United States scrum all over the place. They've got to try and maintain the formation. That would have been a penalty under normal circumstances, but the referee quite right in awarding a penalty try. Well, the restart was taken deep inside the Irish 22. The Irish trying to get out with a huge kick by David Humphries. His opposite number there, Mark Williams, misjudged that one. He's under pressure now. Kurt Schumann tries to return the ball with interest, but straight into the Irish fullback's hands. Conor O'Shea, and that was a beautiful piece of play by the Irish fullback.
Slight knock on, beautifully judged chip by O'Shea. Got a cruel bounce. As he went down, he got a collection. So we see it just over the top of the 3 defenders. Cruel bounce, pick up, but off balance as he tried to keep the ball in play.
He's built almost like a back row forward, is Conor O'Shea. He's a big fella, but he moves so well.
A bit like Shane Howard from Wales. Big fellas, but they move extremely well.
And the referee playing advantage from that knock on by Kurt Schumann, the United States fullback.
Well, they've been forced early on in the second half to throw caution to the wind. The States running out from their own half again, but a great position here. Again, O'Shea looking for the short side, one would think, on the right. No, he's drifting off to the left.
Humphries, the chip through once again. The chase is on. Oh, that was so close. It was just picked up there by Anatoni once again. But he was under pressure from Matt Mostyn. The ball just breaks free for a moment, but picked up by the United States scrum half, Kevin Dalzell. He's had a very good game, Dalzell. He scored all the USA's points, a try, a surprise try, and a penalty. Well, a lot of responsibility on the shoulders of Mark Williams. He certainly doesn't lack experience, maybe at this level, but what dare we say it, an old head on old shoulders.
You know, certainly, but unfortunately for the United States, it's that lack of possession which has really put them behind the 8 ball in this match. Williams has had very few clean possessions where they've been going forward either from scrum or from line-up. The Irish got a great opportunity here again.
George Suker is the man who's down for the USA, the prop forward.
Here we see the little chip in behind, plenty of options from that scrum for the Irish. Did well just to clean up that ball, did Anatoni. But it's interesting to note, Paul, that both this Irish team and the Welsh team have got New Zealand coaches. From these line-out situations, they've got their teams playing right on the advantage line, which gets them over the gain line. Just putting 1 or 2 balls through the hands. Yesterday we saw the Quinnell brothers and Gibbs. Today we've seen Maggs taking the ball forward. What I'd like to see Ireland do, and I certainly noticed there's space, is David Newey, one of my old teammates from New South Wales, enters the field. There's space coming back on the short side. As USA pinch a line-out ball.
Well, that hasn't happened very often during this game, and Ireland penalised there on the retreat. Kevin Dalzell, the scrum half, wanting to get on with it, but David Newey. Just about every team in the World Cup has got some sort of influence from the South Pacific, whether it's been Australia, the South Pacific Islands or New Zealand. It seems to be one of your greatest exports.
Yeah, I think it is, certainly from New Zealand. If you look at Japan, even the Scottish have got a few Kiwis there now. There's 1 or 2 born in New Zealand that was playing for Wales yesterday. But Newey, he's an exceptional player. He should add a bit of impetus and attack to this United States team.
That's Keith Wood wanting to get on with the scrum straight away. The number 2 for Ireland, the hooker. And Dan Lyle, well, he really has stood out for the USA in this encounter, and it's been a bruising encounter, believe me.
There we see it again. Newey, the standoff, in on the scrum.
So how many have we got in there this time?
Well, we've got Tardits, the flanker, defending in the traditional fly half position.
The Irish holding their own, almost going across in a straight line against the United States.
As we said before, the Irish are trying to punish that situation with Tardits off the scrum.
Well, certainly there will be gaps in the defence if they can get possession, and they've got it, but it's picked out of the air by Dan Lyle. Away the United States come. The break on for Tom Takau. Oh, a drop ball once again, and my goodness, how many times have the United States done that during this game?
Yeah, they've really struggled to put any continuity together today. Elementary errors. Must have been looking at the green jerseys and not the ball, Richard Tardits, as a Keith Wood fan.
I think there's quite a few of them in the stadium today, Nick.
As long as he doesn't shave his hair off at an early age.
Well, Tom Tierney to Humphries once again, into the centre, Kevin Maggs. He had support, but decided to try on his own. And the drive on there from the substitute, Malcolm O'Kelly. Tierney to Humphries, to O'Driscoll. Oh, beautiful dummy there by O'Driscoll. But David Newey there just hanging on to O'Driscoll's ankles to prevent any further progress. Tierney just pops one over the top for Humphries.
Yeah, that's wasted possession. O'Driscoll, very fancy dummy, but Wood was there in support. He would have fancied his chances had he received the possession.
Gets the United States out of a bit of bother, down on their own 10-metre line now. Just over 11 minutes gone in this second half, as another substitution is taking place. And it looks as though they're bringing off Richard Tardits, which actually I find rather surprising. Tardits has played well during this game.
Yeah, he's one of their more experienced players as well. He's been the Hong Kong Sevens many years. He knows a lot about the game. I suppose they have to bring on some fresh legs, the United States.
They've brought on a big fella, Pepita Mo'unga, another South Pacific Islander, who's got a reputation for some crunching tackles, and he almost put one in there on Justin Bishop, the try scorer from the first half. But Ireland going for second phase. Oh, Tom Tierney just making a bit of a hash of that one. And Paul Wallace, the prop forward, the number 3 there for Ireland, just throwing his hands up in the air out of frustration, nothing more than that.
Yeah, no, they would be frustrated. Simple errors creeping in. Tierney, poor knock on there. It's good to see them using their blindside wingers. That time, Bishop coming in and being injected.
So Newey trying to feed the fullback, Kurt Schumann, but they just got a bit too close there. There was just a misunderstanding.
Everyone's getting a little too anxious. They want to get this scoreboard ticking. They must realise it doesn't come from throwing pressured passes. It comes from creating continuity, which creates gaps.
Joel Dumais of France, his 12th international during a long career. The French referee in, O'Driscoll's done it again. He punched a hole through the American defence there, but once again looking for support, and the ball just popped up, this time on the side of the United States. Dalzell runs into trouble there. The Irish defence holding solid at the moment. The fullback Schumann passes it back inside. Dalzell has it once again, and now the drive forward by Alec Parker. This towering lock forward for the United States.
It's a bit like American football. One out stuff, just straight ahead.
I was having a chat with somebody today about the Americans, the Eagles, the rugby union team from America, and this chap who was American, came from New York, did not have a clue, A, that the United States had a rugby union team, and B, obviously didn't realize the World Cup was going on here. So I think the United States have got a lot to do in order to promote this game even more in their own country. Well, it looks as though the United States are looking for another substitution. Mark Scharenberg it is, who's looking to strengthen the United States attack and defence. And I just wonder, David Newey's only been on the pitch for what, about 5 minutes, and in a bit of trouble already.
You know, he seems to have some sort of shoulder problem. But even with the sophistication, Paul, as you say, of the American sporting hype, it really comes down to a lack of money, and that's what the international bodies, the big powers in rugby have to address, how to channel money into these smaller rugby playing countries.
Well done, Lyle, picking up there. Dalzell gets it away to David Newey, who's okay now. And then the big stocky centre, Tom Takau. And in fact, the Irish have pushed the Americans back, despite the fact the United States had possession. And some real driving tackles coming in there from the Irish.
Now, they're very fit, they're very physical. Gatland has certainly got them well prepared physically. The mobility hasn't dropped off, nor has the passion from the Irish. Just the execution lets them down from time to time.
Trevor Brennan, the flank forward, coming round the back of the scrum there into the number 8 position. Well, we haven't had too many passages of play during the second half. There's a lot of breakdowns, a lot of little mistakes, and the Irish this time being penalised.
And there's no doubt it really has been stop-start for the last 10 minutes. It's something that Gatland will be concerned about, that lack of continuity. A couple of bruised American players there. It has been very physical, albeit it just hasn't flowed. Now we see time in opponent's half. Certainly Ireland has dominated there. But with that sort of domination, one would expect them to have a greater domination on the scoreboard. There we see it, only 31 points to 8.
Well, the World Cup is 12 years old this time. It's the 4th World Cup we've ever seen for rugby union. And you've been around during all of that time, either as a player or an observer working for television. You know, how far has the game moved on in that time?
Well, I think it certainly has moved on, and the exposure of the World Cup, both in terms of television and total number of viewers, and also I think the speed and athleticism of the players. I mean, there's a lot of talk in this new professional era, and of course this is our first truly professional World Cup, that players are bigger, stronger, faster. I read Phil Kearns, the Australian hooker's comments today, that he's been this is his 3rd World Cup. I don't necessarily think the skill levels have improved, and sometimes I even think that they may have dropped off a little bit. When you look back at 87 to where we are now, as far as the money or the income generating machine that Rugby World Cup now is, there's huge advances that have been made.
And of course, over 1 billion people watching this sport all over the world.
I think the 4th biggest sporting event in the world, which is terrific.
So here we go, a line out to the United States. We're getting towards 20 minutes into this second half now. And Ireland leading 31 points to 8. Good start for them in this opening encounter, and a good tackle coming in from Keith Woods, but the United States still have it. And David Newey's made a bit of difference to the options that the USA are creating in midfield, that's for sure. He's a very creative player, isn't he?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. As I said, I played a couple of years with him in New South Wales. He's disappointed by the loss of possession, but he's certainly got a spring in his step, as opposed to David Humphries. Mark Williams, a very experienced campaigner, but not the athlete that David Newey is.
Well, I wouldn't be at all surprised, despite the fact that David Newey's only just been on the pitch for about, 5 minutes. He might even start the next game. That was Eric Miller, another British line forward player, getting warmed up on the touchline. So there might well be Irish changes in just a few moments' time. Meanwhile, Dan Lyle just trying to chip the ball off the back of that Irish scrum, but it had rotated round too far, so they'll have to do it all over again. And then substitution is taking place, and it's Trevor Brennan, the back row forward, who's coming off, and Eric Miller could just add a little bit more zest, couldn't he, to what's happening in the Irish forwards.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I think it's wise, with the replacement rule now available, to be putting on fresh legs at this stage. I must say, Paul, I was surprised that Wales didn't substitute some of their bigger and more cumbersome forwards with 10-20 minutes to go yesterday at the Arms Park.
Well, already Eric Miller on this side was getting into a bit of a tussle there with Dave Hodges of the USA, but that's a thumping kick down into the United States territory, and Kurt Schumann pops one back over the top towards the halfway line. Well picked up there by Conor O'Shea. Tried to just pass it back inside to Peter Classy, but a misunderstanding.
That's something backs shouldn't do, try to do switch passes with prop forwards. It all looked very simple, but Peter Clohessy went without it. Far too many turnovers. I don't have the actual statistic, but I'd assume with, well, probably 20 minutes to go, Ireland have committed about 15 errors at the breakdown.
So Eric Miller on the pitch for the first time during this World Cup. So much was expected of him during the Lions tour of South Africa. Unfortunately, he was ill for quite a lot of that time. But I'm sure he's going to relish the prospect of getting out onto the park here at Lansdowne Road. Picked up there by Alec Parker for the USA. Still inside the United States half. And still Ireland leading 31 points to 8. Kevin Dalzell looking for options. The little American scrum half. The Irish defence have got to be careful they don't get offside. Tom Takau trying to punch a hole in the defence, but he was brought down too. Dalzell once again. David Newey sees a gap. Conor O'Shea's going to pick that up. He's got plenty of time. He might just be happy to put it under touch. Well, it's a big kick collected by Brian Hightower. We haven't seen a lot of pace from Brian Hightower here today, and that was a silly mistake from the American. He should know better than that.
Yeah, no, we haven't seen a lot of pace, and we certainly have seen too much of that right foot. Lack of execution there. When you've got ball in hand and you're trailing 31 to 8 with under 20 minutes to go, you keep it in hand.
Well, Brian Hightower, another member of the Gentlemen of Aspen team in the USA. And offside there for the Americans. He came through there like a steam train, and that was the prop forward Ray Lehner, who almost buried Tom Tierney, the Irish scrum half.
They really must be looking to get some structure back into this game, Ireland. It's up to O'Quinnigan and Humphreys to create some structure, to create some phase plays. There's no doubt that tries will come. If they can string together half a dozen rucks, the United States will definitely open up. But they need some structure, and they need to minimise the errors.
Well, one of the most experienced hookers in the world, Keith Wood, aims for the back of the line to Dion O'Quinnigan, his captain. The Irish forwards drive on just outside the American 22. Looking for support. The Irish hooker, Keith Wood, burying in there, but it comes out to Humphreys. Humphreys is caught on the 22. Tom Tierney to O'Quinnigan in the loose. Tackled well there by Luke Gross, this giant American. Tierney once again looking for support. This is a tremendous run by the winger Justin Bishop. One try in the game already, looking for a second. They're 5 metres out, the Irish. The referee playing advantage. He's seen an infringement into the centre. The charge is on now from Kevin Maggs, and they will be penalised this time. The American was caught on the wrong side of Kevin Maggs.
They should pack a scrum here, one would imagine. They'll go for the 7 points as opposed to the 3, but that was much better. 4 or 5 phases of play, pushing it left, going the short side. Eventually, it was Maggs who went one out as they opt to pack the scrum. We all know they can get the pushover. I'd like to see them use Humphreys and try and put something together in the backs here.
And this is some front row, as you said in the first half, Nick, that the Irish have got, with Paul Wallace on this side, then Keith Wood and Peter Clohessy.
Indeed, and Matt Mostyn, the blindside winger, just hovering in behind.
O'Quinnigan controlling it, picks it up, drives for the line. He's about a half a metre out. Oh, that was so close.
And he just got turned over by the States captain Dan Lyle. Great in defence, Lyle. So we see O'Quinnigan, he picked up, he had his scrum half Tierney on his right shoulder, but he drove, and it was Lyle able to put him on his back. We're in a similar position. Humphrey standing left, opportunities all across the paddock for the men in green.
The same again, Clohessy to Tierney to his centre. Maggs, well tackled, 5 metres out from the United States line, and they just can't break through at the moment.
And they're not breaking through. Dume, I think we've got a red card.
Now then, did I hear professional foul to Dan Lyle? Well, I guess you could say, or you should say, he should know better. But there must be a lot of frustration from this man. He is a tremendous footballer.
I think he realises that without that professional foul, without slowing the game down, then the States will struggle. We see a very similar move. O'Quinnigan this time opting to pass. It was Maggs on the crash ball. Ireland just rushing things a little. Look at them come screaming in. Yes, it's one thing to try and recycle our possession, but all I have to do is try and get those United States jerseys off the ball.
Well, a simple 3 points there for David Humphries, adding to his considerable total during this match. He hasn't missed a conversion, so he's converted all 4 tries. That is his second penalty.
Touch of frustration from the Irish supporters, though.
There is, and really, you have to say, we'll mention this again in a few moments' time, not good preparation for the match against Australia. Ireland leading the United States by 34 points to 8, coming up towards 25 minutes in this second half. And, well, Nick, Australia are obviously going to be Ireland's sternest test in this group. And the way Ireland have played here today, they've still got a bit of work to do to get it on song, haven't they?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. But again, they'll look at this performance, they'll analyse it on video as Wood takes it forward, and they'll realise they have to get a little bit better.
Well, Keith Wood did that from the first kick-off, or the first kick he received when this match started. He loves going forward. And United States more and more now being caught offside, but they've got to take some risks if they're going to put any pressure at all on the Irish.
I often think, Paul, that if you're going to go through and win a World Cup, it's difficult to have 6 great matches. You've got to have 1 or 2 perhaps where you aren't on cue, and we certainly weren't on cue in 91 in the quarter-final. But what that did was it makes you analyse your performance, it makes you more focused, sometimes it makes you angry, as it did for us in 91. So Ireland will definitely look at this, as Wales will look at their disappointing against Argentina, and all I think it could do is make them improve.
Well, yet another substitution for the United States. Oh, this is better from the USA. O'Quinnigan, Conor O'Shea going charging through there. That was a splendid attack. The ball being spread wide, and for a moment it looked as though the United States defence was in tatters.
That was excellent play from that line out. We've seen Maggs on the crash ball. That time it was the long cutout ball. Here we see it again. From the top, through Humphries. The long cutout ball to O'Driscoll. And there was O'Quinnigan steaming ahead.
Tremendous understanding between O'Driscoll there and O'Quinnigan.
Obviously a well-rehearsed move.
Another substitution. Justin Fitzpatrick is coming on to replace Peter Clohessy.
Eric Elwood on also for David Humphries.
Well, Clohessy, brilliant for Munster, as he's been for Ireland over the years. 31 years old now, or 31 caps rather, should I say. But that will add strength. And Eric Elwood is on too. Well, interesting. David Humphries just sneaking off while that substitution was going on. We know that Eric Elwood is brilliant with the boot, but he's not renowned for scoring tries or creating attacking chances. He's very, very solid, though. One of the biggest point scorers ever in Irish Test history. Tom Tierney fires it back inside. Crunched there by Mounga for the United States. Tierney once again. Elwood.
Now it's just that lack of execution again for Ireland, just rushing things a little. Elwood was desperate to get that ball to O'Driscoll, but he would have been better in that situation, just dying with the possession, taking their time, cleaning out the USA guys off the ball and relying on the phase possession to score the points.
A big drive coming on from Ireland, putting Dalzell, the American scrum half, under an enormous amount of pressure. He's underneath there somewhere, and there's a steal here. It's Keith Wood. Can he score again? The second try of the match, and it really came out of nothing. That was an American put in the scrum, and he can thank his forwards for that. They drove and they drove until the ball popped up, and there was Keith Wood.
Yeah, the scrum was the key to that. There was the turnover at the breakdown, and he's ever present As I said in the first half, he can smell a try from a long way off. Look at him, you can see it there. He knows it's coming back. Beautifully positioned. His scrum half wasn't going to have any of that. His second try. Ireland's opening match of the World Cup.
It's not often a hooker scores a couple of tries in a test match, is it?
No, but as I said, he can smell them from a long way off, whether it be on the wing outside, the speed backs, or in the middle there at the back of the scrum.
So Eric Elwood completes the story of Keith Wood's second try. Another 2 points for one of the world's masters at place kicking. Well, Eric Elwood will be delighted to get some points on the board, but it'll be nothing like the delight that Keith Wood will have taken from scoring his second try in Ireland's opening match in this World Cup. There he is again.
The young fan.
The supporter. Well, can that try bring a spring to the step of the Irish? A big boot down the field there from Kevin Maggs. He's played very well here today. Picked up there by the American fullback Kurt Schumann. Tries to dodge back inside, but a good tackle coming in from the youngster O'Driscoll. David Nui. Oh, well, he was under pressure there. Not a bad kick in the end. It takes the United States down to the halfway line, but the Irish will have the throw-in. Justin Fitzpatrick came on for Peter Clersey, the Dungannon prop forward.
I think it's wise that Gatlin's making these replacements. He'll have to start with his number one team, one would assume, against Australia. So it's good to give these guys a bit of experience in the World Cup.
And here goes Wood again. Oh, he's having a great game. Be difficult to go for a man of the match in this one, but I guess one of the contenders would have to be Keith Wood. And Eric Miller drives forward again for the Irish. Maggs back inside. O'Driscoll in support. Malcolm O'Kelly is there too. Oh, and that is going to be offside once again. And the Americans are finding this more and more difficult to cope with. It's Alec Parker.
That was Matt Mostyn, the Irish left wing that appeared with the possession. They're very busy tonight, the Irish, which is good to see. The
referee there just having a little look at his watch. I can tell you we're over the 30-minute mark and about 10 minutes, including injury time, to go. Here at Lansdowne Road, Ireland leading the United States 41 points to 8, and I guess you have to say that that is a respectable scoreline, but I think a lot of people were expecting something more in the region of 60 or even 70 points here today.
Yeah, really, the points isn't the objective. We all know that England put 106 points recently on the United States. You can't compare your performance against that sort of a scoreline. I'm sure the Irish will be happy with their enthusiasm, their passion, and at times their moves, but really some of their execution has let them down, and that will be something they'll be working on in the week leading into the Australian match.
Well, the utility back Jonathan Bell is on for Kevin Maggs as the Irish drive forward once more.
No doubt Wood's got his hand on the ball there too. There he is.
He's certainly trying. He's going for his hat-trick. Plenty of support. Quinnigan with the headband. The prop forward is there too. Paul Wallace, the British Lion. Ed Morrison puts his flag up, the British touch judge, and having a chat with the players along the way. Well, another substitution. Finding it hard to keep up with some of these. Mark Scharenberg is coming on, and Tom Takau actually they're calling off. Now that's a surprise. Unless he's carrying an injury, Takau has been very, very solid, and on one or two occasions quite dangerous in the midfield for the United States. But I guess part of the success... Oh, Wood's going to do it. Yes, he's got it. Oh. How about that? What a story. Keith Wood, a hat-trick of tries, and you will not be able to wipe the smile off his face for a fortnight.
Well, they don't come any easier than that. But then again, the ovations after scoring a try, and indeed a hat-trick of tries, don't often come any bigger than what Wood is receiving here at Lansdowne Road as well. One of his simpler one. But I tell you what, the grandchildren won't know when he tells him he scored a hat-trick that he only had to catch it and dive over.
Well, you've got to have a bit of poetic license, haven't you? Keith Wood, he's been with Gary Owen for a while, since he returned from Harlequins to prepare for this World Cup, and his preparation has paid off. He's really been hunting throughout this match, and it's paid off. So Eric Elwood for the extra 2 points. A superb performance by Eric Elwood. A beautiful kick there.
Well, I wonder if Ladbrokes will be winding the odds in on Wood. They no doubt have odds for the highest try scorer in the World Cup. After the first round, I have no doubt he'll be leading it.
Now, I haven't taken a big look at what happened when the Fijians put a big score up on the board the other day. But I just wonder now whether Keith Wood is the tournament's top scorer. I
think he
suspect
could well be. I don't think anyone would have got 4. And not about up and under to boot.
I think he fancies his chances now at number 10, doesn't he? He came crunching in to Maunga there.
Now he'll get up and go for a quick tap, probably.
Well, it's the scrum half. Tierney takes 5 metres out of the Americans, but they weren't 10 metres back. And that's a rule that I think should go into soccer. I've got a bit of a bee in my bonnet about that one, but that's a different story. But if you're not 10 metres back when the penalty is taken, well, the referee has the discretion to take it 10 metres further. Elwood punches it down into the American 22. And certainly the Irish have come to life in this last 10 minutes or so. But equally, the United States are falling apart.
Yeah, they're really falling off tackles now. This will be a good finish for Ireland. If they can perform in this last 10 minutes, they can go into their next match with plenty of confidence. Certainly a very athletic performance from the Irish.
5 minutes to go. The Irish on the attack once again. That was Jonathan Bell. Superb player. He's come on as a substitute.
Yeah, there's numbers.
Elwood.
Look who's on the right.
Over the top. Can he do it? Yes, he can. Oh, my goodness. Lansdowne Road. It's liftoff. Keith Wood has scored 4 tries, and I don't believe it. I just wonder if that is some sort of record.
I'd say it's definitely a record for a number 2. The crowd is going berserk. He's a local hero. There were contractual problems a couple of years ago to get him back from Harlequins. He's back home in preparation for the World Cup. And look who happens to be on the right wing, chasing the little chip kick. That man.
I think the way he's probably feeling at the moment, you could put him in any position on the park and he'd play brilliantly.
And they've taken him off, I think. Yes, they've taken him off. Catlin said enough is enough. This is getting beyond a joke.
Well, we mustn't forget that it wasn't a brilliant first half from Ireland. It was scrappy in parts. But they've satisfied the requirement of putting 3 points in the league table, and that's going to be very important. And the more points they can get, if it ever did come down to points difference in terms of the playoff situation later on in this World Cup, well, they've done a pretty good job. Now, can Eric Elwood make it 3 out of 3 since he came on as substitute? Yes, he can. Oh, I spoke too soon.
Great kicking, though, nonetheless, in the wind from the sideline.
Well, let's just have a look at this again. Elwood, the master of the chip. And the hooker, if it's not a world record, it doesn't matter. It is one of the greatest try-scoring performances ever by a number 2. So here go Ireland once again, trying to clean it up and send their attack on the way. Eric Miller, the British Lion, the back row forward. And they really are trying to push the Irish now to get even more points on the board.
Good play.
Oh, Elwood's playing like a basketball player here, a playmaker, trying to control things from the midfield. The boot of Conor O'Shea comes into play this time, and his opposite number, Kurt Schumann, has to come back. In support is Anatoni, who's been very quiet on this match, but he hasn't had any quality ball to deal with. O'Shea once again dragged down onto the floor there by Luke Gross, one of the biggest men on the field, or the biggest man at 6'9". Confidence from the Irish now, but it is picked up by Anatoni, who tries to spread it wide, and this is dangerous for the USA. Anatoni goes chasing back, but he's under pressure from Justin Bishop. Bishop it was who scored Ireland's first try, but going over the top there. And so the United States can just rest a little. They're going to lose this game as we come towards the last minute of normal time in Ireland's opening game in the Rugby World Cup. There is a place in the playoffs for the best third place team, isn't there? And so these sort of scorelines will not do the United States bid to make any further progress after the pool games are finished any good at all. But they really are hanging on by the skin of their teeth now. And I suppose the big story tomorrow is going to be about Keith Wood, but there's got to be some analysis as well as to the way the Irish have approached this game.
Yeah, no, look, I think up front they've been very committed and very mobile, and they've competed very well at the line-out. Their scrum's been strong. I mean, it's not a bad all-round performance. It's a game we just come back to breakdown of execution. Too many errors. You make those sort of errors against teams like New Zealand, Australia and England, and they'll punish you.
Well, a reminder that tomorrow Australia start their campaign to see if they can repeat what they did in 1991 under the guidance of Nick Farr-Jones. And Australia take on Romania. Oh, there's a fight breaking out. And I don't think Justin Fitzpatrick wants to get tied up with that fella. Luke Gross towers above everybody else on this pitch. And we're only seconds away from the final whistle, so really we've got to forget about that sort of thing.
You know, it's disappointing right at the death. They've been spirited, the United States. Easily outplayed.
Now, Ed Morrison, the line judge, is coming across here. He's had his flag up for some time, I reckon about a minute on this side. He obviously saw something happening when play was on this side of the pitch, next to the main grandstand.
You were both touch judges on. Was that situation there, the clean out from Luke Gross?
Oh, my goodness. It was Luke Gross getting stuck in against Paddy Johns, and then he tries his arm against Justin Fitzpatrick. So I think it is Luke Gross. Deanna Quinnigan on the left-hand side. It's Paddy Johns too.
Disappointing the match has finished this way. Actually interesting having dinner with one of the local Irishmen last night, Paul. He was indicating that what happened at the Ryder Cup, just that lack of sportsmanship from the United States, or at least the States fans, may have culminated in a little bit of booing here. But generally speaking, I think they've been well received, the USA players. Just a bit disappointing here though at the end that this brawl erupted and the United States have been penalised.
Well,
Joel caught one. Maybe a touch judge will come on, and was it Luke Gross again? At least the Frenchman's found a little bit of amusement in that.
Do you know what? I think word has got round Dublin that there is something happening here at Lansdowne Road. I'm convinced
the crowd's bigger.
There's a lot more people in this stadium during the second half, and they're certainly making their feelings heard far and wide about what's going on here. But just to remind everybody that Ireland are leading the United States by 53 points to 8, and 4 tries, can you believe it, from the Irish hooker Keith Wood. Meanwhile, O'Driscoll, one of the big future names of Irish rugby, he's got a try in this game, his first ever in the emerald green for Ireland.
He's got some gas too. He has got some tremendous gas. You haven't seen that sort of speed in midfield in Ireland for quite some time. Just that initial acceleration that got him right round the back then. But I think partly the increasing crowd is also due, Paul, to the fact that people can't leave a half empty or a half full pint of Guinness, and they probably finish them before arriving for kickoff.
Absolutely right. Oh, bit of a mistake there by Jonathan Bell. The seconds ticking away, 43 minutes on the clock. We've played 3 minutes of stoppage time already. Dalzell tries to go around the far side. Any minute now, I'm sure the referee will blow the whistle. And let's look forward, Nick, to what is going to happen here a week on Sunday. And that, of course, is the clash between Australia and Ireland. There's a fair way to go yet in terms of Ireland's preparation for that. And as I was saying, Australia playing against Romania tomorrow. But the Irish-Australian clash is going to be great, isn't it?
It's going to be one of the great clashes. I mean, it always has been Australia versus Ireland here. All the Irish, of course, remember the quarter-final here, the one that just got away. So I think we're in for some wonderful rugby in these early pool matches.
Well, Quinnigan attacks again, as does Tierney, pops one over the top, and the mark given there to Kurt Schumann. And that match, of course, Ireland-Australia in Dublin next week. You can see on Eurosport and British Eurosport, and it really will be the highlight of Group E. And there it is, full time here at Lansdowne Road. Keith Wood, I suppose the hero of the last hour and a half, on the substitutes bench.
Got some things to focus on. They've got quite a bit of execution that they've got to improve on.